Hello and welcome to Citizens Forum. This is being filmed on Tuesday, September the 15th in the Memorial Arena in Victoria, BC. I'd like to start by extra thanking the Shaw staff and our volunteer crew for the turmoil I caused at the beginning of this program. The first segment of Citizens Forum is going to be the Mehdi, Walt, and Jack show. And Walter, why don't you introduce the first topic?
Well, we've always been talking about our concerns about how this election campaign, the federal election campaign, is going, and we're always wondering exactly who is running these separate campaigns, if in fact they are separate. And I've said before that I think they're all part of a one program. It appears that they're all being run by the same group. Now, we're trying to understand, for instance, the strategies of the parties and how they're, taking each other on. Sometimes the NDP takes the Liberals on, sometimes they go after the Conservatives and all that.
It's all about them.
Yeah, and there's lots of weaknesses and curiosities in how they approach their strategies when they're criticizing Conservatives in some ways, but for instance, not looking at the overall record of the Conservatives the last 10 years. There's lots to drag up there. There's scandals and lots of things that we could be talking about, but instead we're talking about the refugees and some very recent events. But in order to understand strategy and things, and Mehdi has been very good at looking at what's happened in the past. How did the NDP and the Liberals and the Conservatives interact before and other elections, and how does that compare with what's happening today? I think what we could do, and I know Mehdi has come here with some information on looking at how the last by-election was run when Murray Rankin took this seat in Victoria, and how they employed their strategies.
Yes.
So Mehdi, I know you just gave me this, and I wish I could read it, but I'm just going to paraphrase from what I understand in this, and that is basically the NDP appear to have kind of scared their constituents and people that normally would vote either Green or NDP to vote NDP because they were saying we have to keep the Harperites out of Victoria. And when you look at the numbers and you look at the polling, you realize that perhaps that wasn't the case. So do you want to try to go over that, Mehdi?
No, I just remember when the election was happening, election day was November 26, 2012. And the NDP sent an email out, I think it was either November 22nd or 23rd, by their national director, Mr. Nathan Rotman.
Yeah.
And telling their supporters, and I got that, a few other members of the party got that.
Yeah.
And they're telling them that here is how he started his email. I'll be blunt. Stephen Harper could take Victoria, and with just 4 days to go, we are running out of time to stop him. So he was telling the supporters of NDP that Stephen Harper is going to take this riding, and this is the race between NDP and Conservative.
So don't vote Green.
No, don't. Yes, because there was
vote.
lots of leakage of the vote from NDP toward Greens. The Greens were running a very grassroots campaign, and NDP was really fearful of what's happening on the ground. So instead of telling the truth to their supporters, they scared their supporters to vote for them in order to stop Stephen Harper. But they knew they knew better, because there was two poll came one on October 26 that showed that NDP was 47%, Green 20%, Liberal 16, and Conservative 16.
Okay, and when was that?
No, October 26.
Okay, so the October 26th, the NDP were way ahead.
Way ahead. On November 12, another poll came in, and Conservative were 12, Liberal 14, NDP 47 still, and Green 26. On the election day, the vote was 14% Conservative, 13% Liberal, 37% NDP, from 47 to 37, and Green 34.3. So the Green were really closing. And this showed that NDP, and still is doing the same thing. Last week, their candidate in Malahat Cauchan was asked about Green competition with NDP, because the inside poll showed that the Greens were 32% and NDP 39%. So when Ian Jessup on CFAX asked him about the Greens, he didn't answer that question. He talked about the Conservative are coming up, you know, and this we have to stop.
And to me, this is a big problem. It's you know, it's not what the NDP is doing. I mean, I'm a member of the NDP. It's disgraceful that you would lie to your own members. But all the parties do it. It's the way the whole thing works, and that's what we have to change.
I haven't seen other parties lie to their own membership in this manner. You know, this is deception. I was for 24 years member of NDP. This issue caused me to quit, because I couldn't stomach it anymore. You know, you can't.
Well, let me give you a liberal example. When Jean Chrétien was elected, he said he was going to renegotiate NAFTA. And he told his members and everybody else to renegotiate NAFTA and get rid of the GST. So, and both of those were complete and totalized. Now they've brought Mr. Chrétien out, I guess, to remind us that everything Justin Trudeau says is probably a lie too.
Yes, but we always thought the NDP is different. We are a grassroots progressive,
It's so
supposedly
disappointing.
progressive party, and that wasn't the case. You want to talk about the debates?
Well, I just want to add to this. I mean, and it's hard to do research, by the way, when you're trying to dig up dirt, real good dirt on parties, and trying to figure out how they're doing things. And we love to do that. But one thing that I did find out is that we have the same public relations firms running all three parties' campaigns. So when you see the script that they're following, especially with the NDP Liberal jostling back and forth and criticism back and forth, and you hear this, like if you were listening to Sunday morning, CBC yesterday morning, there's some interviews and there's a lot of squabbling, and you think, why? They must know that this is not for the best for their party in the end, that this is just going to narrow the gap for the Conservatives, but they keep on doing it, because I think it's exactly what they're being set up for, is this narrow Conservative victory as the NDP and the Liberals squabble.
We'll see on October the 20th what the plan is.
But this does lead in well to the conversation about the upcoming debate.
Yes.
And how is that being set up? Who's running that debate? And why is Elizabeth May not being allowed to?
As you know, they were debating, they were negotiating in May about the four parties, about the debates. And even then, in May, Altia Raj of Huffington Post wrote a very revealing article. She was talking to an insider, but she doesn't say from which of the parties. And this is the quote I'm reading. Thursday debate wrangling confirmed to some that NDP and Conservative have been working together for months to box in the Liberals and freeze the Green out of the debate. In my view, there is an attempt to get the Liberals off the opposition map, and the NDP doesn't want the Greens there. One person involved with the negotiation said. Two parties who are supposedly dramatically opposed are working together. And when we see, for example, in this, when the debate starts happening, Mr. Harper refused to participate in consortium debate.
Yeah.
Mr. Malkier followed. Mr. Harper wanted to have the debate with the Monk and Globe and Mail and actually this privately sponsored debate, Mr. Malkier followed. So when there was the debate for woman issue, Mr. Harper refused to participate, Mr. Malkier followed. So this is the game they have been playing in the last three elections. If the fake left and the right agree on issues, you can edge out and push out the Liberals from the middle out out of the debate, out of the picture, and say that the fight is between us and between NDP and the liberals. And they have done that. If you remember, there was a lots of article was written about this is an election between NDP and conservative. Here is one, the headlines. It is orange versus blue. David Etkin, Ottawa's son. Another one. Move over May and Trudeau. BC is NDP conservative battleground. This was on TAI by Bill Tillman. Or this is from Margaret Venti, Globe and Mail. With liberals squeezed out, a new two-way race. This is how they wanted this race, this election be between NDP, the fake left, and the right. And if they achieve that by the last week of the election, then people are going to look at these two and say, which one really we want? We want a guy that say balanced budget is a virtue, like Mr. Harper, or a guy that from the left that claim balanced budget is a virtue, which is Malker. They go toward the conservative, and that's what's happened in 2011 election and give a majority to conservative. That's why when you talk about who is controlling these elections, who is managing this election, we see Mr. Brad Levine of Hill and Knowlton coming back to help NDP, and Hill and Knowlton also have lots of people helping the conservatives. And who is paying the bills? Corporations. The big corporations are paying Hill and Knowlton to do these type of
yes, and the big corporations, I think, run all three parties.
They are running the three parties.
And they're running the election, and they're running the debate.
Yes, and that's why, for example, if you remember how they got rid of Paul Martin, there was one issue, and that was the scandal, the sponsorship scandal, which was about maybe $30-40 million at most, but even not that much, at most. But in the last three elections, both NDP and Conservative are not talking about the Mr. Harper, what he has done, his record in last 10 years, devastating the social fabric of the country. And nobody talk about it.
That's true. That's like, maybe that's the most fundamental point. Nobody is talking about the homeless roaming our street, the fact that people have to wait months and years for operations. I mean, the whole medical system is run by the corporations. The whole country. It's.
I'll just put a little bit of good news in while we're talking, because in these upcoming debates, which Elizabeth May has been excluded, she's going to be going live on Twitter, when this will be shown after the debates. But still, I think this type of media with Twitter and things of that nature are things that are outside of not as much under the control of these corporate masters. And I think the Greens are using this technology in a more clever fashion than the other parties. So Elizabeth May is going to be commenting on Twitter while the debate is going on.
She is doing everything in order to give people another options. The corporations are deciding, with this Globe and Mail and also the TVA and Monk, we allow the private sponsorship to decide who the people of Canada should hear.
Exactly.
And this is totally unacceptable for a democratic society.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth May rightfully say, I'm going to do everything that I can do to get my voice heard by the people.
And I just want to mention the Globe and Mail is owned by the Thompson family, Canada's richest family. So here we have Canada's richest family telling the people of Canada who we can hear and see in our election debate. I mean, how's that for the state of our democracy?
In 2008, Elizabeth May was participated because of the people pressure, and we saw Harper couldn't get his majority. In 2011, they pushed her out, and Harper got majority. Harper knows if Elizabeth May is there, Harper and Malker cannot gang up on Trudeau. And this is the whole thing, to gang up on Trudeau the fake left and the right, and win the debate. This is what they can do. But if Elizabeth May is there, they cannot do that.
But it doesn't matter who gets elected?
It is very important because we are not electing Mr. Harper. In every different constituency, we elect a representative of a party. It is important if we want a better parliament next time to have, for example, 10, 12 Greens.
Yes, I
because
agree.
the Greens are the only party.
Yeah.
You know, I am not looking at any other issue except Greens are the only party that their candidate agreed to participate in accountability meeting on a regular basis with their constituents. If they do that, 9 meetings a year in 9 different months, then they are always in contact with people. They cannot lie to us, they cannot ignore the problems, because if they ignore it this month, next month they have to face us again. So this is to reduce the democratic deficit that we have in this country, and Green Party is agreeing to do that. Another thing is that Elizabeth May, among all the political leaders, is the only one that say, yes, the ends, reaching an ends is important, but the means matter. She is not trampling over her values to reach an ends.
Mehdi, is she the only one who voted against the bombing of Libya?
She was the only one that voted against the extension of the no-fly zone, which was really the bombing of the Libya, because they voted in April of 2011, the first 3 months, and when they supposedly to have a safe fly zone, so people are not being bombed, but then they continue bombing the Libyans, and Elizabeth May opposed that in the second vote.
The only one who opposed the destruction of a Canadian general led the bombing of Libya. That leads directly to Syria. It led directly to ISIS. Elizabeth May voted against that. It's a disgrace that she's not in the debate, and the Greens aren't being covered by the media at all. Thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.